Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to Monday evening at We the People, presented by the Diamond Factory. We'll get all our little commercial stuff out of the way. As you can see on the bottom, you can subscribe and donate on our YouTube channel. Our Cash App is $JEK3. We're also on LinkedIn as well as Facebook. So there are many different ways that you can see us. Our guest tonight, we have a very special guest, Joan of Angels. Now that is actually it's Joan. Is that Hangartner?
Yeah, it's actually Dr. Joan Hangarter is my legal professional name, but I was given the name Joan of Angels in 2013 because I was painting and channeling angels.
Oh, okay, all right. So, well, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, I guess I'll start with that. So I was a chiropractor for many, many years, and I ended up in a kind of very difficult, challenging situation, and I had to run away from an abusive relationship, and it got me really involved in trying to understand how I can help other women basically in situations like I was. So I actually went from being a chiropractor to becoming a coach and a counselor to help people, help women who needed to be supported, help people live their best life, get into their purpose. And so that was all good. And then in 2013, I started to get messages to paint 33 angels in 30 days, James. And I ultimately said yes to those messages. And that's when I began painting angels and hearing their messages and sharing them with people. So I suppose you can say I'm a transformational coach that works with the angels and celestial realms to help people.
Very good, very good. Now, what what made you focus on identity theft?
Well, and that's what's so interesting. Because of my chiropractic background as a chiropractor, I used to go into different people's offices. I became a business coach, basically. And as part of, I have these two sides. And I also have this side that I've been a business coach. I can go in and help you look at your business, what's not going right, what you need to realign and to do. And so I've always been interested and help people also with their businesses, entrepreneurs. So I work with entrepreneurs. But just last summer in July, I became aware that there were 3 people using my social security number, James. Not just me, but there were 2 other people that were not me using my social security number. One of them is using it for his cell phone on T-Mobile as a T-Mobile account with my thing. One of them has been filing tax returns under their social security number, everything. And then I began to find out that it wasn't just me. I don't know if you know that 2.5 billion social security numbers were, quote, hacked from Social Security last summer. So there's only 400 million in the US. So that's a lot of social security numbers were hacked. But most likely, I've been told that every one of us, including you, have more than one person using our social security number now. And so that's how I got into really saying, I've got to take this seriously and I've got to find solutions, not just for myself, but for some of my entrepreneurial clients and people I work with. How do I help all of us with this subject?
Wow. Okay. So now, Dr. Joan, you've had an incredible 40-year career helping people through emotional, spiritual, and physical challenges. So, what made you exactly? As you said, you found out that there were 3 people using your social security number. How did you find? How did you use your background in chiropractic care and transformational, excuse me, guidance to influence your approach to identity protection and recovery?
Okay, that's the best question I've heard. I've been talking about this all summer. That's the best question. Well, because I'm a pragmatist, I've always been about how to like solve this issue.
We're having a little trouble with your audio.
Oh, you are, huh?
Now you're fine.
Okay, if I have to sit better, I will. So I've always been interested in very concrete ways of helping people, pragmatic. But on the other hand, I'm also very interested in how to help people with the anxiety. So what I discovered is that this causes a lot of anxiety in people, James. The day you find out your social security number has 3 people on it, you become obsessed with, okay, how do I check my credit? How do I solve this? How do I call Social Security, the IRS? Who's going to help me? And so I started to learn how stressful that became for me. And I started discovering some of my clients had the same issues. So that became a natural evolution for me to also include, how are you being protected, not just spiritually, but in the physical realms?
Now, there used to be, I don't know if it's still as prevalent as it used to be, but going by my generation. A lot of us, by the time we got to be 18 or 21, or decided that we were going to go and get our own credit established, found out that we had gas bills in our names as children. Uh, you know, uh, I mean, speaking for real from my neighborhood anyway. How do you you're talking about someone that's had a gas bill in their name for, like I said, 18 or 20 years, but not to their knowledge.
Right. So what happens when you don't pay that bill that wasn't yours, but it's in your name? So, I don't know what happened to others, but they go after your credit. You start getting calls from the credit collectors, and debt collectors, and they're getting more and more verbally abusive. I want to say you're going to be forced. You have to cover that. The excuse that someone else is using my credit doesn't work. You have to have help in unraveling it. So it's unfortunate. It happens all the time. People use other people's names or identity, but you as the victim, it's not a very healthy thing for you. It's very stressful. I spent hours and days, hundreds of hours trying to fix my credit as a result of this. And then, so I found I got notified that through Legal Shield and ID Shield that someone was trying to get a loan in my name. And I was able to call the credit company to shut down my credit because of that. So things can happen outside of our control. If they had taken out that loan, I would have been responsible for it. They're doing it for mortgages too. They're taking out mortgages in the homeowner's name. They get a few $100,000 mortgage, but you get stuck with the bill. And the penalties can be very severe, and it's very traumatic, and you have to have expert help to unravel it so you're not being held liable.
Okay, now let's kind of understand what identity theft is, because it's growing, as you said, more and more sophisticated every day. So, what are the most common ways that people can become victims?
Well, one way is just people, like you were saying, people in your neighborhood started using other people's names and accounts to get accounts. So that's one thing that can happen. Seniors are very much at effect of this, James, because they're a little bit more trusting, and they might be more inclined if someone calls them and asks for their social security number. Some of them are so unaware that they'll give their social security number out to a person right there on the phone. So those are the kinds of things we're looking at. We're looking at the kinds of scams like come on your cell phone, and they tell you that you owe money for a toll. I don't know if you've seen that. I get a lot of texts that I owe money to the freeway system here.
Yes.
Right? So if you have been on that, if you've been on a toll road recently, right, especially here, I know you're in Southern Cal, if you've been on a toll road, you might go, oh my God, I forgot to pay that. Did I forget to pay that? You click on that and then you're lost. Then your phone gets hacked, and then they can attack you. They can, and your cell phone has what? All your identifying information on it. It has everything on your phone. So they can get everything just like that. So that's one way. Or that's postage. My daughter lost $5,500. Fortunately, she was able to get it back on one of those postal scams. She was expecting a package. So when she got a text that said you owe $2.40 to FedEx,
Yes.
she said, oh my God. And she clicked the button. So my daughter calls me in a panic. $5,500 is that what they ended up getting into her bank account and doing it. Or we get those phishing emails that come from, I got one from Norton a few months ago after I signed up to work with identity theft protection, and I canceled Norton. I get this bill from Norton anyway. It looks just like Norton, and it's outstanding balances because I think they read your mind, James. They seem to know everything you're doing, these hackers. So I get this email from I thought it was Norton, and do you know what? It looks so real that I called the number. I'm embarrassed. I'm only sharing this because if it could happen to me, it can happen to anyone. I should know better, right? I call the number, and before I know it, the guy is having me go to my browser, and I start putting in, this info, and all of a sudden, it's like I come out of a trance. It's like I had to hit myself, and I was able to shut down the browser, and of course, can't, shut my phone down right before I was going to be hacked, because that's what he was having me do. And I'm blindly following his instructions to open up this site that was about to hack my whole computer.
Yes, I think I've seen a couple of the ones that you're talking about. You get something from a PayPal bill for $500, and all of a sudden click this button and then click the I know exactly what you mean.
Right. And so people, honestly, I get calls from my friends all the time that they've just lost this much money or that much money because they did exactly that. So that is another way. And they're getting more smart, like it, the email came from something that looked like Norton, but it was like Norrton. So
Right.
if I didn't look carefully, I would have, well, I didn't look carefully. I called it. I mean, I almost got completely hacked again. So I needed to find some support, James, because I was like very vulnerable out there, even knowing what I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've helped so many people rebuild their lives. How does identity theft compare to other personal crises that you dealt with in your career?
All right, that's another good question. So, I deal with a lot of personal crises. I'm just not an identity advocate. I help people with all sorts of emotional turmoil, difficulty in their relationships, overcoming obstacles, finding their purpose and their career. So I do help people in a lot of ways besides ID theft. But the ID theft, I like it because it's an actionable solution. And so in the end, I recommend almost everyone get identity theft protection because what is it? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Right.
And in this case, I mean, I can't even tell you how many people I've spoke to. One of my friends. Now, I also work with legal protection, how to have prepaid legal protection. This is having insurance. I talk to people either after they've had all these hacks and they're freaking out. So I advise them how to handle it and help them bring a sense of calmness back. And or I might recommend that they use the kinds of services that I use as well, because those are the solutions, basically. Learn how to handle it. These are the solutions. Learn how to handle it emotionally, which I think is the hardest.
that would seem to me to definitely be the hardest part. But I'm going to get into emotional and psychological impacts a little further down the line. Uh, so, uh, are there specific demographics that, like seniors, young professionals, that are more risk for identity theft?
Well, as I said, they say that seniors are more at effect, but to tell you the truth, I see it across all anyone who uses so if you do online banking, say if you use a computer, you use online banking, you sign in and out of different websites, you pay online, you are more at effect. Yes, you're more likely to get hacked. You're more likely to have this kind of thing happen. And people who use the same password over and over again are more likely to get hacked.
But
Just
isn't
putting it out
this
there.
the norm? I mean, I, there are very few places where you can go today that take cash.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
I mean, everybody asks you for an ID card, swipe this way, swipe that way. Uh, you know, you go on Amazon Prime, you need a credit card. You go on PayPal, you need a credit card. You go on. I mean, if you want to get something to eat, Instacart, DoorDash. You know, none of these, you can't order and pay with cash. You have to put a credit card in there.
So I'll tell you what I just learned. You know the QR codes that they use, like you go to a restaurant, you can use the
Yes,
QR code. Okay. And now many businesses are sending out their QR code like
they're
this.
on TV.
Yes.
Yes,
Well, guess what? Many of those, there are instances of people putting stickers with their own QR code on top of that QR code. So you go to the gas pump, right? And there's a QR code there, and you think that's going to go right to the gas pump, but it doesn't. It may go to someone else because someone might have come by and put another sticker on it. So that's true of almost anywhere that if when you go to pay, it may or may not be the people that you think you're paying. So they're actually even putting fraudulent QR codes on things. This scam is everywhere. It's hard to avoid. If you can live your life and you never get scammed, I think it's a miracle, really. You know, even going to the gas station, if you put your card in the swiper thing, there may be someone out there in the lot there who can capture your PIN.
yes, yes.
So so I think the first thing I want people to be aware of is that we protect our resources. Our time and money are and our health are like our three greatest resources. So we have to really pay attention to covering, making sure that people can't watch us at the ATM machine or at the gas station or make sure that we're actually clicking on something that's actually legal or real. Like, okay, I'll tell you something I've been getting a lot of requests in case I want a job, um, doing what is it doing profile scanning things,
Right.
so or doing reviews. And so I've been looking at those going, oh my god, that's great money, $3,000, are you kidding, a day? And so I was really tempted to click on it, but I didn't. Today, a friend of mine sent me the same one. She said, Joan, do you think this is legitimate? So I put it into Chat GPT to check it out. And Chat, of course, said it was a scam. It says it's a scam if you get a text or an email like that and they don't tell you what company they're with and they don't give you sort of um, legitimate contacts. So, but they can scam that too. So it's about awareness. It's about really being aware of where am I exposed? What email am I about to click that I don't know where it comes from?
Now that's good on a personal level, but here lately in the news, we've been hearing about institutional, like you just mentioned, Social Security. There have been various companies that have been hacked. Power companies, all different kinds of entities that we've given that information to, such as your utility company. For instance, your water bill. I mean, there's so many things, as you mentioned. But uh, what do you do when you have a large scale data breaches? Like I said, affecting millions, like Social Security. How vulnerable is the average citizen, even if they just think about being careful?
Yeah, no, these are great questions. So, the average person in America probably has at least three people using their social security number. I'm going
At
to
least three.
at least three people using your social security number. Also, there's such a thing called the dark web. So, ID Shield, which is a company I work with, ID Shield, they have a service that monitors the dark web for your email addresses and for your passwords. And so, or usually your email. So you can get notified that a certain one of your email addresses was hacked, and that your password is known to change your password. So, for instance, Gmail was hacked this summer. Everyone who has a Gmail account was hacked on Gmail. And so, I think that's, I don't know, maybe hundreds of millions of people use Gmail. I never looked to see how many, but
I'm one. um,
okay. Have you changed your password, James?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I find it much better to use some of those, the suggested passwords, because I'm not ever going to remember all of those symbols and everything. And it also prevents me from using the same password over and over again.
Smart man. That's what I do. But um, I sometimes have to help people setting up passwords. These people use the same password over and over again, and it's their name. And that, if you're listening to me now, or listening to James and I, please change your password to something like James is describing. That is something you can't remember. If you can remember your password, a thief can easily access it. All right. Now I'm going to tell you something else that happened to me, James. I was on a plane I think it was back in December or January. I was flying from Miami here, and I was using the Wi-Fi. I was trying to get on the Wi-Fi, and I had to on the plane, and I needed to pay, so I go to my PayPal account, and it took me a while because my phone just didn't like the whole system. I don't know, but a couple of minutes later, I go to um, text the phone number. You know how they send you like confirm?
Yes.
There's another phone number in addition to my own. Okay. So I think what happened is while I was on the plane, someone hacked in while I had my PayPal account opened. They hacked right in and put their phone number in it. So the good news is that I saw their phone number. But when we landed, I was able to hop on PayPal and get them off. But it was pretty hairy. It was really upsetting.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting on PayPal knowing someone's in my PayPal account.
At 25,000 feet, no less.
Yes, maybe certain. Yes, yes. And that's like really, that's what a surprise.
Wow. A lot of horrific stories that you hear, but until you can actually talk to someone that's been through it, you don't really realize it. Now, another thing we have a lot of new technology. I mean, I'm every day I find out more and more about AI and this new technology. How concerned should we be about identity fraud becoming even more advanced?
I'm going to say something about that. Yes, even more advanced. And we're not just talking about protecting your identity. We're actually also talking about protecting yourself legally from things like this, also. Um, because, well, okay, rephrase that question so I can make sure I answer it directly.
Okay, with the rise of AI and deep fake technology, how concerned should we be about identity theft becoming even more advanced?
So, very concerned. Number one, they can make clones of you for TV. They can mimic your voice. So imagine your family sitting at home and they get this video of you telling them that this is taken by my captors and I've been abducted, I've been kidnapped, and you're going to have to send $10 million to rescue me, or $10,000 to rescue me. And your family is looking at a video of you that looks like you, that's in your voice, or they get a phone call from someone that's cloned your voice. And so it sounds just like you. Okay. So now and because it sounds just like you, and the kidnapper asks for 10, 20, 50,000, what are you going to do? Some people send that money. Or that scam that happened a few years ago also, where people were getting calls that their son was sort of out of money in South Africa. Send money. So AI makes it almost impossible to determine if that's really your kid or not, unless you call your kid to see where they are. I mean, I'm serious. So this has been happening a lot also. They can replicate so much of what you're doing and pretend to be you, steal your identity that way. So we have that as another kind of scam.
So, when you are talking to the people that you work for, identity theft, I think you mentioned an identity shield. Uh, how do what are the safeguards that they are putting in place? Because a lot of these companies say that they will cover up to so much.
So when I got hacked on the plane, not that I had a lot of money in my PayPal account, but I went, oh, okay, Joan, you don't have to panic because you have you have this protection. So they cover you up to $3 million. Like if you lose your wallet with all of your identifying information and someone like gets into your bank or whatever, they will reimburse you up to $3 million and investigate to find out the fraud. And so there have been people, like one person I met whose father lost 2/3 of his life savings because of a hack like that. So you want a company that will cover you for up to 3 million, that will investigate, that will be scanning the dark web 24/7 for signs that your social security numbers or your credit cards or your emails have been used and your
Now,
passwords hacked.
it I know that there are such things as the dark web and things that are used specifically to get into your specific emails or whatever. But there are a lot of people, at least my age, in their 70s and going into their 80s, that some of them don't believe, just like they didn't believe, putting their money in banks. Some of them don't believe, that these things exist.
Well, if they're not putting their money in banks, they may, this may not be as, and they're not doing their online banking, then they're less at risk than I am, or possibly you. All right. So maybe getting to hide your money under the pillow these days is still the same. I mean, my cousin it doesn't bank online. He's never been hacked. If I told him all this, he'd think I was crazy because
See,
in his reality, it doesn't happen because it doesn't happen to him. And some things you don't, sometimes you have to be shown and it has to happen to you before you realize it's an issue. My job is to make people aware that it is an issue. So perhaps you protect yourself, you insure yourself against it before it happens, like a car accident. The insurance company won't cover you for a car accident if you get the insurance after you had the accident.
of course not. Yes.
Right? You have to have it before the accident to get protected. I mean, they'll still always go and help you, but the point is that the more protection you have. Actually, we live on a dangerous planet these days, James. We kind of all need protection these days of some kind or another.
Most definitely.
You
Uh,
know.
so let's kind of deal with the emotional and psychological impact of having your identity stolen, because it isn't just a financial issue anymore. It can be emotional or psychological. What are the biggest emotional challenges that victims face after they've had their identity stolen?
Well, okay, so what happens? You get notified your identity's been stolen, or maybe you discover a bill for a loan you never took out, right? Well, what do? You start calling around. You call Social Security, you call the IRS, you call the company. I called T-Mobile. Who is this person? How can't you cancel their account? You
And you
know,
get frustrated
and you
because
get
you
frustrated. And if you've ever been on hold for Social Security, they can't do any. And here's the thing: you need an attorney to help you. This is what I finally was told. They do not care about you or me. We have no power. You can call them every day for the rest of your life, and they're not going to do anything. They're not even going to let you really know about all the other people having your Social Security number, and they're not going to do anything for you. If you can get an attorney on it, they might be more likely to resolve it for you because attorneys have more power. So, another reason to use a service is that as individuals, our voice is not going to be heard. So, but what happens to you emotionally then is, first of all, I don't know about you, but I didn't have hundreds of hours to research this issue. I was in the middle of a big job, and this was a nightmare. Okay, so so the first emotion is this is a nightmare. How am I going to solve this? What am I going to do to protect my money? And I was actually literally hacked and watched someone change my password right in front of my eyes. How do you solve that? It kept me awake at night with tremendous anxiety. And then I would stay up till 2, 3 in the morning trying to fix it. You can't fix these things, number one. You can only worry about them mostly for yourself. So there's another feeling for some people. If you've lost your 5,500, it's like feeling like you've been raped. You've been violated emotionally. When someone can attack you, go into your cell phone, change your passwords, or take money from you, or take a loan out, that's a violation of you. And it can feel like a rape. It could feel like a physical, emotional attack, and it can cause acute traumatic stress syndrome for many people. It can cause an anxiety stress attack, or many of them.
anger.
And anger. Yes, anger. A lot of anger and rage, but yeah. And then depression because it was unresolvable for me. It's like, who can I really anger and rage at? Because there was no one physically there. And no one was fixing my problems until I started working with the ID Shield to get more protection. But no, I had to resolve whatever I could by myself. And the other thing is that it also impacted. So I had to make a police report, And as a police report that on being hacked, I then had, a new password, and which I immediately forgot, James. And I was coming back from Costa Rica years ago, when I had this other hack, and they wanted to know, the customs wanted to know my password. And I didn't know my password. They put me in a little room for hours until I could remember my password. Honest to God. So it can impact other things you don't know. Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
there's another scam I didn't tell you about. I hope I'm not overwhelming anyone. There's
it's,
the there's a mortgage title scam. I don't know if you've heard of that, where they can go down to the county office and put the title, and submit a document that changes the title of your home from your name to their name.
so like I said, I mean, now, there are people that don't believe in these things, and don't check up on them on a regular basis. So if you're one of those people, I mean, how do you let's put it like this: how do you make those people? How do you make those skeptics aware of the dangers that are out there?
That's so funny. I deal with skeptics all the time on a lot of issues. As a chiropractor, I have a lot of skeptics. You know, as someone who has angel paintings, I have a lot of skeptics, and there's a lot of skeptics here. You can only present the evidence, and that's it. If they don't want, listen, if you can't get them to use a credit card, you're not going to get them to deal with their identity. Um, Honest to goodness, there's people. All you can all you can do, even with this podcast, we make people aware of issues, and then what they do with it is what's up to them. But I get a lot of phone calls sometimes from shows like this, from people who start telling me all, the ways that they were hacked and what's been going on for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's no such thing as stealing that paper check anymore out of your mailbox. Now everybody gets a card. Social security. You got a social security card now. You have a debit card that's entered under your name under that social security card, and that's how you get your social security every month.
Listen, the mails are so many things get hacked. So I lived in the desert. I don't know if you know Desert Hot Springs. Every week, people would complain that piles and piles and piles of mail were found discarded on the side of the street. They were after any checks that they find, because they still find checks in the mail. Okay, there are people that do not use credit cards, so there are still checks in the mail, and then they throw out all the rest of your mail. So it happens even through the postal service.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. So, so let's talk about government and corporate responsibility. Do you think that the government and major corporations are doing enough to protect people's personal data?
Well,
I mean, I just read. There was something on the news this morning about war plans. Being basically on a discussion between two people of our State Department, and all of a sudden they're on a journalist newscast. I mean, so and like I said, reportedly we've had some parts of our country shut down by hacks. So what do you do when the government doesn't seem to uh, be doing enough, or at least that the government itself is vulnerable?
well, the government itself is vulnerable. We know that the government itself, Social Security was hacked. Yeah, different departments have been hacked already, and we know insurance companies get hacked and corporations get hacked. Yes, they do, and they get shut down. Look what happened. I think a few months ago, one of the airports was shut down because of, they could shut down airports. So there is a problem inherent in our system. Hackers seem to be able to. There's nothing, I think, that's unhackable at some level. And is our government doing enough? I don't know. I think that they're trying to go after it. There is a whole fraud department. They can certainly amp it up. But also, there's a lot of small people doing these hacks. So I think it's a tricky thing. Very tricky. Will we get help and relief from them soon? I don't think so. And they even say we're in danger of having our whole system shut down by an EMF attack, so that our whole system might be compromised.
Yeah, and like I said, those are the things that are scary. When you think of the different government platforms being hacked, and the amount of damage and destruction.
Yeah.
So, what policies or changes would you like to see to improve identity protection at a systematic level?
Well, okay, so we can address number one, emails that come to us that contain links that are corrupt and not valid, or hacked links. Okay, I don't know if there's a way to detect, like, to give you I don't know if there's a way to detect that, to detect fraudulent links that will take you to a hackable website. I mean, the government would have to do something so outrageous that would be so obvious in our email. So that would be one way. I don't know if it's possible, but that would certainly help. Um, I'm thinking, how can they set it up so you can look at a text and it says, "Danger, Joan, danger, James, don't open." I think some of it, we can't expect the government to fix for us. Although, I don't know, with all that's going on, can the government go in and make sure that only one person per social security number? They could do that, I am sure. They can run a filtered scan on how many multiples, how many people have, 2 people, 5 people, 10 people using social security numbers. I'm sure they could actually do a search for that, and then maybe trace it back to the original social security user. So they could do that. Gmail might be able to
James.
do something about that.
Okay.
It happens.
Then are we getting into a situation like Orson Welles, 1984?
Of course we are. Yes, yes, we are. And the truth is we already don't have privacy. We know that the Treasury Department, the IRS now, has decided they can go into your accounts. They have all your information right there at the IRS, all your banking information right now, because they go in and they have access to everything now. So as humans, we've been denied our privacy. And when they hack your medical records, they know what's wrong with you. They know, they can read your DNA. They can when you get genetic testing, they now have access to your genetics and your gene pool, which is a whole other subject. Not good.
Okay. So, given the growing number of hackers, both foreign and domestic, how can we balance security with convenience in our digital world? Like you said, they've already hacked into the social security, the IRS. I mean, there's, and people, like you said, people want privacy, but we need protections to guarantee that privacy also.
You've said it. We need protections. It's like You know, if you leave your door unlocked and you live in the ghetto, don't be surprised if someone comes in, you know, or even anywhere. You know, you want to lock your doors. So what do you lock your doors to? You want to make sure someone can't access your computer. You want to make sure that your passwords are unbreakable to the best of your ability. You want to make sure that you read these emails that come demanding money from you, or suggesting you click on a link. Any email that comes, you have to be I guess I'm describing proactivism. An email comes in asking you for money or saying you owe money or click this link. What do? You go to the top of the email and you look from the sender to look at their email address immediately before you click on that link. So that's another way. If you get a text and you do not know who it is, don't answer it.
Yeah, don't open it. Yeah,
don't open it. Anything. Don't open. Like if you're a trusting human, this is a wake-up call because you're at risk. You know, if you use the same password over and over again, like positive thinking, it's an easily hackable thing. So be aware from this conversation that your job as a human living here on this planet now, living especially in the United States, start checking it out before you naively just click it. I think, or even on the phone, but never give out information. Don't even give out your full name. They don't need to know that. Nobody needs to know that. They may ask you, here's another scam. They'll text you, oh, you know, we're supposed to meet today at such and such and such a place. And you go, well, who is it? And they'll give you their name and they'll say, well, who is this? Because they want to know who that cell phone number is attached to.
We met at the party last Friday. Don't you remember? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another good one when you get one from someone you don't know. Yeah, you know, I met you at so and so's party. Yeah,
right. No, right. You know, I think it's vigilance. And now for me, I would also say that's why I work with a company like Legal Shield and ID Shield, because an ounce of prevention or protection is worth a pound of cure. So they are protecting me 24/7. So if you're out there, guys, trying to hack me, just know I am protected legally and identity-wise. But protecting yourself, James, is the other. Making sure that if something happens, that you are protected. If someone takes a mortgage out in your name, that you have someone who could trace it and get you your, take them down. Have legal protection to get that account closed.
Okay, now, are there any? Well, no. What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about identity theft?
That it'll happen to someone else. It won't happen to me. Won't happen to me. Or they'll say, Joan, how do all these things happen to you? This has never happened to me. However, when people do say that to me, ultimately something could happens to them. They just didn't realize it. I think we're naive. Like, James, this whole squatter thing, how a squatter can take over your house and you're stuck. You may never be able to get the squatter out, right? Have you heard about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, if you own a house and someone comes in and squats, that's pretty heavy duty. So, because most people can't get those squatters out. It takes a lot of time, money, and effort to do that, to protect yourself that way. So honestly, on every level, nowadays, carjacking, it's not even so safe walking around some places. So
people take your bicycles nowadays.
People will take it. They've always taken your bicycles, James. They've always tried to take bikes. Yeah, they do, because you can just cut the chain. And there it is. It's now yours.
And I mean, you have e-bikes now. I mean, the bicycles. It's not like our old bicycles. The brakes. You had to stomp on the brakes. Everything's right there at your hand now. So yeah, I mean, so many modern conveniences. What do you, if someone has already been a victim of identity theft, what should they do first?
Well, it depends, of course, on the kind of identity theft. Let's say they've raided your bank account. So you might want to
And
call
let's
your.
say you don't have identity theft or one of those. You're a layman. This is the first thing that
Yeah, yeah.
you're at that. Oh my God, what's happened to me?
Let's say, okay, let's say you get a bill for the phone or your utility bill, and it's for an address you don't live at, right? You call the company. You say, this is not my account. But they'll say it's in your name, it's in your social security. They've given us all the information. And you say, it's not in my name. You might have to get an attorney to fight it.
Now you're
Okay.
talking about thousands of
Now
dollars.
you're talking about thousands of dollars. I told you the IRS doesn't listen to you. They're not going to go and kick the other people off of your social security number unless you have some kind of authority figure. Attorneys have that authority figure. I don't. Yelling at them doesn't. We as the taxpayer who's being screwed, we don't have that authority. We're just the taxpayer. So there's you can do the best you can. You can call Social Security, but they can't do anything either for you. They can't go in and monitor. They won't even monitor it for you. You just like pray and be lucky that you're getting your Social Security and someone else isn't getting it. If it's going to someone else, you might actually need legal help or support or ID Shield to help you. It takes more than just us. The anxiety I might have dealing with bureaucrats, James, is horrific. And I have a busy life. I don't have hours and hours and patience to do that effectively. And I get hysterical. I mean, honestly, there's as a lay person, it's harder for you to deal with. That's all I can say.
Okay.
You can call your bank to try to get the money back. Some
Oh,
people can get the money back. Other people on their own cannot get their money back. So I think that the more authority you have with you, the better. Police aren't going to get your attack. So the people we think are going to help us can't help us. You're not going to get a call a policeman up and say, I've been hacked. Can you get my money back? They don't deal with this.
yeah.
I don't know what part of the government deals with this. The FBI, supposedly, but we're talking about millions of people being hacked, billions of people with ID theft.
Yeah, I'm sure the FBI is not going to take you on an individual case
You
basis.
don't think so? You don't think we can call them after this and go,
Yeah,
yeah,
they've hacked my identity. They took $5,000. Yeah, okay, all right.
right. Or you can say, when I was growing up, can you go after the people who were having accounts in my name? They're not, they're going to laugh at us at that point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know.
Where can people go for reliable help if they're struggling to recover their stolen identity?
Well, if you're having a problem with identity theft, you can actually text me. And, maybe you can give them my phone number. But
Well, you're going to do all that before we go off the air. So,
perfect. So you could text me and you could say, I heard you on James's show. I've been hacked or I have this issue. And we'll set up a time to talk. No charge. We'll see if I can point you in the right direction.
oh my goodness. Okay, now you're going to be deluged as soon as you said no charge. But so sometimes that's how it begins, one step at a time. So, what final piece of advice would you give people who want to take control of their personal security?
Wow. See, so, and this issue of taking control, do the best you can. It's like if you have Bitcoin, put it in a wallet, and put it in a wallet that doesn't attach to your internet. If you have, um, if you have anything that's needing protection, start being alert to it. As we said, change your passwords. In fact, guys, change your passwords over the next few weeks as you go into different accounts, because passwords should be changed periodically, just in case your stuff is on the dark web and you don't even know it, and they have your old password. So start changing up your passwords every few months or yearly, so that you're more protected that way. Again, start looking to see where those emails are coming from. If you don't recognize it, don't open it. If you don't recognize the text, don't open it. If someone calls you wanting information, don't give it to them. I mean, honestly, it's about learning to be a bit more cautious and reserved than you might be used to.
Is there an increase in the need to have uh, uh, what do you call a security box? Perhaps would that be one way? To perhaps put away some of your things so that they wouldn't be quite so vulnerable.
I think people used to put money, gold, silver, put
Yeah.
everything in a safe deposit box, either hidden in your home or at the bank. Of course, there are those extreme times where you see movies of the criminal carrying the safe deposit box. You know, um, think about how you are protecting yourself, and think about what you have that needs to be protected. Even your money. Do you need a will or a trust, which we do in Legal Shield to protect your money and your assets? What do you think of yourself at, like, what assets do I really have? I have my time, I have my money, I have my home. And then you think about, how are these protected? My car. How am I protecting my things, my assets? And that's kind of a good way to look at it.
Most definitely. And is there any advice that you could give seniors in particular? That that part of the population that seems to be most susceptible to these types of crimes.
Well, if you're out there listening to this show, then all the things that we're saying are really important. For you as a senior, I think never give your social security number out, because they will call you and tell you they're from the IRS, or they're from Social Security, or they're from your bank, and they'll want you to confirm. Oh, can you confirm this number? And they'll give a fake number. Oh, can you confirm that the last four digits of your Social Security number are 1234? You go, no, they're 789, 10. Okay. And you blurt it out. You've just given them everything. So when you get a call request from asking for money, asking for anything, just hang up on them if you don't recognize it.
Now, I do want to ask you about something that's a little outside of what we've talked about,
Oh,
and
good.
that was the 31 Angels, I believe you said.
33
33.
angels in 30 days.
Okay. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So what I haven't mentioned is that, so I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I was going through a very particular difficult time in my life, and I was praying for miracles. I don't know if you've ever prayed for miracles, but I was like asking for miracles. I needed financial miracles. And instead, I heard these voice that said, paint 33 angels in 30 days. It was Halloween, I should point out, 2013. And there was a group of people in the house and there were painting supplies. So I heard the voice of 33 angels in 30 days. And I go, I can't paint faces. I can't do that. And so I turned it down, and then I heard the voice again. And then I had another reason for not doing it. And then the third time they said it, I heard it in my head. I heard it right here. I realized that this was my miracle, that I had been expecting like a financial miracle or wanting a financial miracle, but instead they were telling me what I would need to do to get there. And so I painted, I actually went and painted 33 angels in 30 days, in a month, put them up on the wall, and the room now became the angel loft. And a book falls off the bookshelf, and this is a true story, and it opens, it falls, open, and I turn it up, and it says, your call for angelic assistance has been heard. So now I'm like, oh my God, right? And then a few days later, the same book falls off, and it opens to a different page. It says, to be one of the chosen ones, you must choose, right? Because I was asking, well, what am I supposed to do with these 33 paintings now? So what happened was I asked, what am I supposed to do with these paintings? And I heard the same voice now saying, well, paint us and we will come. And I said, who will come? So instead, of course, I had to paint. And I started painting these huge beings. I bought these canvases like 4 feet tall. And I started painting these huge beings. And I'm not an artist, I'm very primitive. I closed my eyes for some, and so all these big paintings came. And they started giving, I started having feelings or messages. It was sort of like channeling. I can hear them. And people would experience the energy of these paintings. So I was told after a year to move to the desert. And I moved to Desert Hot Springs, the Joshua Tree area out there. And the second day I was there, I was being introduced to a person who lived there. And we're at breakfast, and she says, tell me your name again. And I start to go, oh, Dr. Joan Hangarter. And she goes like this, say nothing. And the restaurant went silent. This is a true story, James. The restaurant went silent, like I was in a vortex. And she says to me, I know who you are. I mean, it was like a prophecy. You're Joan of Angels. And she said it in such a way, I swear I heard the Hallelujah chorus. And the room was totally silent. And I went, oh my God, okay. And I thought she was going to say Joan of Arc, because I had been, and still am, a Joan of Arc. She's my heroine forever. As a kid, I read every bio about her. It's like I used to try to think, would I ever be this brave? How could she do that? Would I ever have the courage to do this? So I thought she was going to say Joan of Arc, but Joan of Angels. And it took me 7 years to grow into that name. To be able to say, I'm Joan of Angels, and not die of embarrassment or something.
Wow, remarkable story. Remarkable story. And have you been able to use this gift in helping others? Not just talking about identity theft, but I mean, just
Oh yeah.
in life, I guess.
So in life, yes, I do sessions for people. I do spiritual. I'm a spiritual advisor, which means I counsel on everything, and I'm very intuitive. And because I'm very intuitive, I'm able to see things that other people may or may not see. And I work with my guides, with you, and so yeah, I help people. How do I explain it? I help heal. As a chiropractor, I've always done healing, and I do energy healing on Zoom for people who need that. And I also help you look at what you need to let go of, how to let go of the challenges, how to resolve your relationships or some of your money issues. So I help people really live a better life. Let's put it that way, reach their goals and feel more inspired.
Now, do you use any natural herbs, or is this just you know purely psychological?
I use several methods. Okay, I use a lot of methods.
Mhm.
I have a
Well,
degree
I
in
mean, I use
chiropractic. Yeah,
acupuncture. I
yeah.
have the cupping, and I mean, there are different uh, parts of Eastern medicine that I've accepted. As I've gotten older, of course.
So yeah, and I have a background as a chiropractor and also have a master's in counseling. So I use all that. So if you have a healing session with me, we do number one, we do energy healing, which is just like laying on of hands basically, but I can do it from a distance. So I'll start working with your energy to start to remove pain. So I have a lot of people who get better by removing the pain. I can do energetic chiropractic adjustments, which is also very interesting, but I do those. But I do a lot of emotional release also. Every symptom that we have is actually associated with an organ and an emotion. So, like your kidneys are associated with deep sorrow, your lungs, deep sorrow. Liver problems have to do with anger. Knee problems, being afraid to walk forward, step forward in your life. So, I also look at different energies and emotions that are holding you back or that are keeping you not well or that are causing you anxiety or challenges in your life. So we can look at everything. Now I use a lot of herbs to answer your question. I love herbs. I moved to Mexico in 2010, and when I got there and looked around, I thought, I think I ought to know how to heal myself even more. And I started by using things in my kitchen. So I started off learning how to use spices and herbs in your kitchen to get better. And now I use a lot of herbs and I recommend tinctures and different protocols also for you if I see the need.
Now, do you do any work with veterans like myself? I mean, I'm old veteran, Vietnam era veteran. I notice, like I said, like I've used some Eastern techniques, to help me cope with PTSD. Also, like you said, certain pains. I mean, I'm 78. I'm not a brand new. I'm a used car. With a whole lot of miles on it. So I found that if you have an open mind, sometimes you can open yourself to other uh, methods of healing rather than just accepting. I have to go see Dr. Jones today. At the VA.
First of all, I want to correct you. You're not just an old veteran. You happen to have a lot of wisdom that you've accumulated over the years, and that people like you and I who have a lot of wisdom, and that's what you're sharing on your shows. So I just want to remind you of that. But yes, of course, I work with veterans. Veterans have bodies. Poor veterans, and the veterans I know, especially acute traumatic stress syndrome, and also the pain that's absorbed in your body. What we don't realize is that every injury, every trauma really does get stored in our body and in our memory. I did, when I started working with angels, I used to do what's called angel spirit circles, where I taught people how to feel their angels. And one night, and I did this one in person, both online and in person, but this guy comes, he's the only guy there. And the woman who referred him didn't show up. So he's alone with a group of 10 or 12 strange women. I'm looking at this guy like, oh my God, oh my God. And I was getting a little nervous. What was he doing here? We go through the work. And during the integration after the discussion, he tells us his story. And his story was that he had been in Vietnam and they had been under attack and that everyone in his platoon had died, but he started crying. He's described seeing an angel, and that this angel had come and protected him and I think one of his best friends, and they were protected by this angel. And he completely had forgotten this experience, James. because of the trauma of that warfare. And it wasn't until he was sitting in this circle that he started crying that he could remember that angel that had actually come to him and had saved his life at that time. Very powerful. And when I meet people who've been, especially in the Vietnam War, and we start talking, I find a lot of angel stories, James, hidden in there.
Hmm.
That the memories start to come out.
Yeah, you hear a lot of stories, especially men that have been in combat and you know seen that type of trauma. Um, I can understand. Yeah, you do get a lot of emotions from it. Um,
Yes. And you still are suffering, you were suffering from it. So acupuncture, by the way, I didn't mention this, but acupuncture is wonderful. I'm a chiropractor. I love chiropractic, but acupuncture, I love the way it feels in my body. I love it when I can feel connected, and they can do different pulse, they can feel your pulse, and they can put needles that would help with stress, help with your emotions, help with your kidneys, your liver, your digestion, everything. So that is a really good form of care. And James, I want to also thank you for your service. I don't know if you were volunteered or you were drafted, but in the end, you had to serve, and you must have done a decent job because you're still here to tell. You're here, and that was traumatic during those days. So I want to thank you for that.
yeah, it's. I always, say to people, it took 50 years for people to notice, what we had done and the things that we had went through, and it's much different the way soldiers are recognized now. We came home under that cloud, and but anyway,
It was, and it was
this,
a difficult time. Yeah.
yeah, uh, you know. So I want to thank you very much for your time, and why don't you tell us where we can find you, any services that you might offer, or just take this time and give us your final thoughts, and maybe drum up a little business.
All right, let's drum up some business by letting you guys know the kinds of things you can expect. So, you know, I do private one-on-one coaching, counseling, and healing. You can do that joanofangels.com. Everything is Joan of Angels. So, you know, just take that, you can't forget it. joanofangels.com. You can also text me at 415-717-1385. So I'll repeat it because, in case you didn't have a pen.
Hold on, let me get the pen and paper here myself. Okay, now what was that number again?
415
415
717
717 1385.
1385. Yes,
That's Joan of Angels.
that's Joan of Angels. Just text me. Text me if you want to, you can text me if you want to have services with me. I'll direct you to the website, or you go to joanofangels.com. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, all of Joan of Angels. And I think that's the best way.
Okay. All
The
right.
best way. Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you're available for private one-on-one sessions?
One-on-one session. Every so often, I offer different groups. Mm-hmm. I love working with people. I've been working with people ever since I was a little girl. I was raised. I had a lot of empathy growing up, James. I could feel other people's pains, and so my whole life I had this wanting to help people get out of pain and feel better. It's sort of like my modus operandi.
All right. All right. All right. Well, hopefully you'll hear from some of my veteran comrades, and that because it's always a struggle. We have 21 veterans a day that commit suicide. Uh,
Wow.
uh, you know,
Whoa.
so we need all of uh, the help and attention that we can bring to this particular problem. And like I said, I hope some of my veteran buddies will take advantage of this.
You
So
know,
I want to thank you for your time, and I hope that you'll come back on the show, and maybe we can talk about this in a little more depth, and maybe not so much this one's on identity theft, but maybe on some of the other subjects that you are well acquainted with.
a man after my own heart. I would love to do that, James. Absolutely. I love doing deep dives into, waking up and living your best life and your intuition. I have all sorts of hacks to listen to your intuition and trust it.
Okay.
Next time.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You have a great evening, and I thank you so much for your time. Hope we didn't interfere with your evening too much there.
Are you kidding? This was the best part of my evening. Thank you so much.
All right. You have a great evening.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, James. All right. Bye for now.
Bye. Yes. That was Dr. Joan, excuse me, Hangarter. If I have any veterans out there that maybe are having some problems, maybe you can get in touch with her. Once again, her number is 415 717 1385. So you can get in touch with her. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. Look forward to talking to you again next Monday. We will have a gentleman on, Mr. Stanley Huge. Uh, he will be his programs are mainly on Spotify. This Friday evening, we will have another show featuring the subject of George Floyd, hero, villain, or martyr. So join us this Friday for that special program. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for your listening.